The order that changed everything. Jackson Wells stepped into the glowing blue restaurant, his boots wet with the dust of a long mission. The place smelled clean and strange, like flowers mixed with metal. He had traveled across 3 star systems in 5 days. Now all he wanted was peace, cold water, and a rare steak. The waiter, a tall insect-like alien with shiny red eyes, approached politely. His antennae twitched as he bowed low. "Welcome, honored human. May I take your order?" Jackson rubbed his neck. "Yeah, just give me the rarest steak you've got. No sauce, just meat." The waiter tilted his head. "Rare. Of course. Our finest dish." Jackson didn't notice the strange way the waiter smiled before walking away. He sat back in his soft purple chair, stretching his arms. The restaurant was full of aliens, some with scales, others with fur, many with glowing eyes. All stared at him for a few seconds, then returned to their own meals. Jackson ignored them. He had been the only human on this side of the sector for weeks. That always brought attention. Suddenly the lights dimmed. A soft bell rang. The waiter returned, pushing a silver cart with a dome-covered dish. He rolled it slowly through the room like it was some big ceremony. Other customers paused their eating. Some even whispered. Jackson felt a bit awkward but said nothing. With a dramatic flourish, the waiter lifted the dome. Jackson froze. There was no steak. Instead, lying on a silver plate, was a young alien girl. She looked around 18 in human years. Her skin was pale violet, her long hair like silver threads. She wore only a thin cloth around her body. Her wrists and ankles were chained. Her eyes, wide, glowing, terrified, locked with Jackson's. She was breathing fast. Her lips trembled. What the hell is this?" Jackson stood up quickly, knocking his chair back. The waiter smiled calmly. "Your rare dish, sir. Fresh, untouched, high value." The room went silent. Everyone was watching. Jackson looked around, thinking this was some sick joke, but no one laughed. The waiter stepped forward. "If you prefer her cooked, we can arrange it. Full flame or slow roast?" Jackson's hand moved to the side of his belt where his old pulse pistol used to be, confiscated at the city gate. He stepped forward and looked closer at the girl. Her arms had bruises. Her legs were scratched. Someone had dragged her here. She didn't speak, but her eyes begged, "Help me." Jackson took a breath. "She's not food. She's alive. She's terrified." The waiter's face didn't change. "Yes, and that is why she is rare. The elite prefer living delicacies. This one was caught just this morning. Royal blood, they say." A cold wave passed through Jackson. He stared at the girl again. Royal blood, caught. This wasn't a prank. This was a trade. He clenched his fists. "She's not food," he said again, louder this time. This is slavery." The waiter raised a hand, and 2 large guards with thick armor stepped closer. "Sir," the waiter said, still calm, "if you do not want the dish, please step aside. Others are waiting." The girl moved suddenly, just a little. She tried to speak. Human. It was weak. Her voice cracked like she hadn't spoken in days. Jackson's heart pounded. She looked at him, tears falling from glowing violet eyes. "Please, help." That was enough. Without thinking, Jackson reached forward, grabbed the girl off the plate, and pulled her into his arms. "Stop!" shouted the waiter. The guards charged. Jackson threw the food tray at one guard's head. It hit hard, and the guard stumbled. The second one swung a stun rod. Jackson dodged, grabbed a chair, and smashed it into the alien's stomach. The guard groaned and fell. He didn't wait. Holding the girl tight, Jackson kicked open the nearest exit door and ran. As he burst into the cold alley outside, alarms began to ring across the restaurant. Red lights flashed. Sirens echoed in the streets. Jackson didn't stop. He had no plan, no weapons, no backup. Just a scared alien girl in his arms, and the feeling that everything in his life had just changed. Forever. The girl on the plate. Jackson ran through the cold metallic alley, his breath heavy. Neon lights blinked above him in strange alien symbols. Behind him, loud voices shouted and boots crashed against the ground. He tightened his grip around the girl in his arms. She was light. Too light. Her body trembled against his chest like a small bird caught in a storm. He ducked into a shadow behind a trash chute, heart pounding. "They're coming," the girl whispered, her voice soft and broken. Jackson looked at her face in the dim light. She had bruises along her neck, and her silver hair was tangled and dirty. Her glowing violet eyes looked up at him with fear, but also something else. Hope. "Who are you?" he asked quietly. "Ilari," she whispered. "I was taken this morning from the Royal Skyship. They sold me." Jackson swallowed hard. "Sold you to that place?" She nodded, tears in her eyes. "They call it the Rare Room. Rich aliens pay to eat special beings, not just meat. They want fear, pain. It gives them a thrill." Jackson stared at her. He had heard of strange customs in far systems, but this was evil. "They'll kill me if they catch me," she said. "But worse, if they take me back, I'll lose everything I am." Suddenly, a search drone flew past the alley, red light scanning everything. Jackson pushed her behind a crate and covered her with his, but the light passed over them and moved on. He exhaled slowly. "We need to move." "I can't," Ilari whispered. "My legs are weak. I haven't eaten since yesterday." Jackson looked around. He spotted a market sign glowing red at the far end of the alley. The vendor sold street food, alien noodles, and meat skewers. He ran, bought a hot food stick, and came back quickly. "Here," he said, handing it to her. She stared at it like it was a jewel. Then slowly, shyly, she took a bite. The warmth returned to her face. "I thought humans were cruel," she said after a few minutes. "That's what they told us, that humans only come to take, to fight, to destroy." Jackson smiled bitterly. "Yeah, well, I came for a steak." She giggled, weak but real. Suddenly, a voice echoed through a speaker above. "Attention, citizens. A human fugitive has taken a high-value royal specimen. 10,000 credits for her return, 15,000 if alive." Jackson looked at her. "They're calling you a specimen." "I was never a person to them," she said softly. "Just meat." Jackson stood. "Then let's show them meat can run." They moved through the city's underbelly, past glowing trash piles, drunken alien gamblers, and broken transport rails. Ilari leaned on Jackson for support. Every screen in the street showed his face now. Human criminal. Armed and dangerous. He snorted. "I'm not armed, and I'm only dangerous if you mess with my dinner." Ilari laughed again. It made him feel warm inside, but that warmth vanished fast. As they turned a corner, 3 bounty hunters blocked the path. One was tall, with steel arms. Another had 4 eyes. The third one was silent, with skin like stone. "Give us the girl, human," one growled. "You'll live longer." Jackson stepped in front of Ilari. "She's not yours." The one with steel arms raised. "A weapon. She's not yours either." Suddenly, Ilari stepped forward. Her eyes began to glow brighter. A strange hum filled the air. "I am Ilari of the Lost Royal House," she said in a strong voice, "and I am not property." A wave of blue energy shot from her, knocking the hunters back. Jackson stared, shocked. Ilari collapsed. He caught her before she hit the ground. As the hunters lay unconscious, Jackson carried her again and ran into the night. His heart raced, not just from fear now, but from questions. Who was this girl, and what power had just come alive inside her? Blood on the table. Jackson ducked into an old building with broken lights and rusted walls. The sign outside had long faded, but he guessed it used to be a diner once. Now it was empty, quiet except for the hum of electric pipes. He laid Ilari gently on a padded seat in the corner. Her eyes were closed, her breathing shaky. A few minutes ago she had exploded with energy, a force that knocked armed hunters to the ground. Now she looked like she could barely stay alive. Jackson touched her forehead. It was hot. Too hot. He pulled off his jacket and placed it under her head. She's, burning up, he muttered. Hilari's lips moved, barely a whisper. I didn't mean to do it, it just happened. What was that energy? Jackson asked. She opened her glowing eyes halfway. My blood holds a spark. Ancient power. It sleeps. Until I'm in danger. Jackson sat beside her, thinking hard. She wasn't just some alien girl. She was a weapon, and now everyone would want her even more. Suddenly, the front door creaked open. Jackson jumped to his feet, fists ready. But it wasn't a bounty hunter. It was an old alien woman in a hood, walking with a cane. Her eyes glowed dimly and her scales were faded with age. She looked at Hilary, then at Jackson. You are the one who took the girl from the rare room, she said. Jackson stayed silent, ready to fight. The old woman raised a hand. I'm not your enemy. I'm a friend of her mother. Hilary stirred. Mara. Yes, child, the woman said, walking closer. You look just like your mother. Jackson lowered his fists, confused. You know her? He asked. I was her mother's healer, Mara said. And I know what lives inside that girl. It is not just power. It is danger. Mara pulled out a small glowing blade and handed it to Jackson. Cut her hand. Just a little. You'll see. Jackson looked at the blade, then at Hilary. He hesitated, but Hilary gave a slow nod. Jackson gently cut a tiny line across her palm. Blood rose to the surface. But it wasn't red. It was silver, glowing softly like moonlight. The drops floated in the air, humming with energy. Mara pointed. That's why they want her. The royal blood is not just royal. It was created in the old wars, mixed with the core energy of dying stars. One drop can power a ship for years or destroy a planet. Jackson stepped back. No wonder they served her on a plate, he whispered. She's more valuable than anything I've ever seen. Mara nodded. And now that she's used her power in public, every syndicate, government, and pirate lord will be after her, including the one who ordered her capture, Lord Tyrax. At that name, Hilary sat up, weakly. Tyrax, he's the one who betrayed my father, sold me like meat. Her voice was shaking, but her eyes burned. Jackson clenched his fists. Then we find this Tyrax, and end it. Mara shook her head. He is not just a man. He is a beast in armor, a killer of kings. You cannot face him. We have to, Jackson said, because if we don't, they'll never stop hunting her. Or me. Mara sighed and walked to a hidden cabinet in the wall. She opened it and pulled out a glowing chip. This is a key to a safe house, deep in the Undercity. Others like me live there. Rebels, healers, hidden ones. You'll be safe for a while. Jackson took it. Thank you. Mara touched Hilary's cheek. You are the last light of your line. Don't let it go out. Hilary nodded slowly. Then Mara looked at Jackson. Protect her, human, or the galaxy will bleed more than just blood. Outside in the distance, another loudspeaker echoed. Attention. The human fugitive and stolen specimen have been seen. Reward raised to 20,000 credits. Jackson looked at Hilary. Guess they're getting nervous. She smirked weakly. Good. He helped her to her feet, wrapped his arm around her shoulders and whispered, Let's show them what human kindness and alien fire can really do. The slave market truth. The Undercity was alive, but not in a good way. Jackson and Hilary moved through its lowest levels, far below the glowing towers above. Here, shadows crawled. Neon lights flickered like dying stars. The air smelled of oil, old blood, and broken promises. No law reached here. Only deals. Deals made in whispers and sealed in pain. Jackson kept his hand close to the hidden blade Mara had given him. Hilary, still weak, leaned on his arm. Her silver hair was tied up now, hidden under a ragged hood. But her glowing violet eyes still gave them away if anyone looked too long. They finally reached a wide tunnel with glowing alien letters above it. The nest, Market of the Forgotten. Hilary flinched. I know this place, she whispered. This is where they priced me. Jackson frowned. Priced you? She nodded. I was taken from the royal ship and brought here. They paraded me like a toy. Bidders from 10 species fought to win me. But one buyer was the richest. He bought me for the rare room. Lord Tyrax? No. Worse. A woman. A human woman. Jackson froze. What? Hilary looked down. She said humans buy power too. She said your kind is no different. Jackson clenched his jaw. She was wrong. Inside the tunnel, the scene was sickening. Dozens of cages lined the walls. Inside them, living beings, alien children, hybrid teens, even elderly creatures, all for sale. A hologram above each cage listed a price, details, and special features. Some cages had red tags. Fresh. Jackson's fists shook. Hilary touched his hand gently. Now you see why I was afraid. They kept walking, silent and tense. Then a voice called out, Looking for something rare, traveler? A tall alien in golden robes stepped from the shadows. His skin looked like stretched wax and his mouth curved into a cruel smile. I have the best stock. Fighters, lovers, healers, even dreamweavers. Jackson didn't stop walking. The man followed. Wait, the dealer said. You're human. Yes, I have something special. Just arrived. One of your own. That made Jackson stop cold. What did you say? The dealer grinned. Human girl, young, scared, worth a fortune to the right buyer. Jackson stepped closer. Show me. He was led to a back room, colder, darker. Only one cage stood there. Inside, a human girl sat tied at the ankles. Her hair was dark and her eyes wide with fear. Jackson felt his stomach twist. Where did you get her? He demanded. The dealer shrugged. Captured near the mining colonies. Smugglers picked her up. She cried a lot, like most of them do. Hilary stepped beside Jackson. You sell lives like meat. The dealer sneered. Meat sells better when it begs. Jackson moved fast, too fast for the alien to react. He slammed the man into the wall, pulling the hidden blade to his throat. One more word, Jackson growled, and I'll make sure you beg. The man whimpered. I can give you names, buyers, locations. Jackson looked at Hilary. She gave a slow nod. We need to know how deep this goes, she said. We need to cut it from the root. They tied the dealer up, took his data pad, and freed the human girl. She cried as Jackson handed her water. You're safe now, he said. But inside, Jackson knew. This wasn't over. He opened the data pad. List popped up, over 1,200 names. Buyers, sellers, shipments, targets, and one name in red at the top. Lord Tyrax, final collector, priority level alpha. Jackson showed it to Hilary. They weren't just selling you, he said. They were preparing to collect more. Hilary's face darkened. My people are still in cages. Jackson put a hand on her shoulder. Not for long. In the silence that followed, a decision was made between them, without words. They wouldn't run anymore. They would fight, and the blood spilled would not be Hilary's. It would be Tyrax's. The chase begins. The tunnel behind them exploded. Jackson threw himself over Hilary and the freed human girl as the shockwave ripped through the wall. Fire licked the air. Smoke filled their lungs. Screams echoed. Chaos had found them. They found us. Hilary coughed. Bounty hunters, not ordinary ones. Elite. Trained for one thing, capture or kill. Jackson grabbed the datapad and helped both girls. Up, they ran deeper into the undercity. The old steel floors shook under their feet. Sparks rained from above. Sirens screamed like dying birds. We have to split, Jackson said. They're tracking me more than you. No! Hilary held his arm tight. They'll take you if I leave. I'll meet you at the safe house Mara gave us. You guide her there. He placed the datapad in her hands. Protect this. It's proof. It's everything. Hilary looked like she might cry. But then her eyes hardened. She nodded. "I'll see you there," she whispered. Jackson turned and ran the opposite way. It didn't take long. They were waiting for him. A hovercraft dropped from above. Armed aliens jumped. Their armor was black with glowing red lines. Their leader had a steel mask shaped like a beast's skull. Jackson didn't wait to ask questions. He grabbed a broken metal pipe from the ground and charged. They fired. Blue beams hissed past him. He rolled, swung the pipe, and cracked one helmet. Sparks. Scream. He ran again, diving into a trash tunnel that led into the sewer lines. Below the city, it was worse. Dark, wet, silent. Jackson breathed hard, every step echoing in the tunnel. But behind him, he heard the slow, steady clank of boots. One hunter followed, and this one didn't rush. He stalked like a predator. Jackson slipped, fell into cold water, and cursed. The pipe was gone. He was soaked, his foot ached, then a red dot appeared on his chest, target locked. Suddenly, something moved behind the hunter, fast, silent. Then, crack. The hunter dropped, neck twisted. Jackson blinked. A tall alien in gray rags stepped forward. His skin was cracked stone, his eyes glowing white. "Jackson Wells," the stranger said in a deep voice. "You are protecting the girl." "Yeah," Jackson said, still, breathing hard. "Why?" "Because the galaxy depends on her." "Who are you?" The stranger held up an old symbol, a broken crown surrounded by stars. "I served her father. I swore to protect the heir." Meanwhile, above the sewers, Ilari and the young human girl moved through crowded streets. Ilari wore a cloak now. She walked fast, eyes sharp, heart racing. She clutched the datapad. Every screen in the city still showed Jackson's face. "Wanted, human terrorist, reward, 30,000 credits. "He's drawing them away," Ilari said. The girl beside her, maybe 17, looked at her in fear. "Will they kill him?" Ilari didn't answer, because she didn't know. They finally reached the safe house, a small broken shop behind an old tea stand. Ilari tapped the glowing brick. A door opened. Inside, more than she expected. Not just rebels, warriors, medics, pilots, survivors, and they all stood when she walked in. "Ilari of the Lost Line," said an old alien general. "You survived." "I didn't just survive," she said. "I came to end this." She placed the datapad on the table, and the truth began to spread. Below in the dark, Jackson stood with the stone-skinned warrior. "You can rest now," the warrior said. Jackson shook his head. "Not yet." He looked up at the ceiling, imagining Ilari's face. "I made her a promise." He stood, tired, hurt but alive and ready for war. Power hidden in her blood. The safe house was no longer a secret. Ilari could feel it in her skin. Her blood whispered danger. She stood in a circle of rebels, warriors, and broken survivors, all staring at her as if she was their last hope. She wasn't. Sure she was. But she wanted to be. The datapad had exposed everything. Slave rings, trafficking networks, secret buyers. Some names were royal. Others wore government badges. The truth was worse than poison, and at the top of it all, Lord Tyrax. "He doesn't just buy rare beings," said an alien medic. "He destroys entire bloodlines so no one can challenge him." Ilari clenched her fists. "My father died because of him. My mother disappeared, and I was on a silver plate waiting to be served. I won't run anymore." The rebels stared. Then one knelt. Then another. One by one, they bowed to her. "Ilari, of the Lost Line," the leader said. "What do you command?" She took a breath. "I command we burn his empire to ash." Below the safe house, Jackson walked beside the stone-skinned guardian named Kor. They were close now, following a hidden path to the rebel base. But Jackson's wounds were getting worse. The fight with the bounty hunters had left deep cuts on his side. His body was slowing. Still, he didn't stop. He had to see her again. Suddenly, his vision blurred. He dropped to one knee. Blood spilled on the floor. Kor turned. "You are wounded." "I'm fine," Jackson grunted. "You are dying." Jackson laughed weakly. "Then I'll die after I see her." At the safe house, Ilari suddenly gasped. She dropped the datapad and held her chest. The rebels rushed to her side. "What's wrong?" one asked. "I feel," she whispered. "Pain." Jackson's pain. Her eyes glowed, brighter than ever before. And then something else happened. A light burst from her body, silver and blue, rising like smoke from her skin. Everyone backed away. "What is this?" the rebel leader gasped. Ilari looked at her hands, her veins shimmered. Her heart raced. "He's close," she said. "And he's bleeding." She ran to the hidden passage. Jackson collapsed just outside the safe house wall. His vision was dark. He could barely hear the alarms, the voices, but then he saw her, Ilari, her face above him, glowing like a moon. "Hey," he whispered. "Told you I'd catch up." She pressed her hand against his wound. "No," she said. "You don't get to die yet." Her palm glowed, and her blood answered her call. Energy pulsed from her hand into his wound. The skin stitched. The bleeding stopped. The pain faded. Jackson gasped as color returned to his face. "I feel warm," he said. Ilari smiled through tears. "That's me." The rebels watched in silence. No one dared to interrupt. "She's unlocking it," Kor whispered. "The royal spark." Later that night, Jackson sat beside her in the base's healing room, bandaged, alive. Ilari sat across from him, eyes calm but fierce. "I didn't know I could do that," she said. "You saved me." She looked down. "I felt you getting weaker, like your flame was leaving. And I wouldn't let it go." Jackson smiled. "Guess we're even now." She shook her head. "Not even. Not yet." Outside, rebel ships were being armed, plans were drawn, weapons cleaned. The war had begun, and at its center stood one girl with silver blood, and the human who believed in her before she believed in herself. The next strike would not be quiet. It would be fire. One human versus the galaxy. The sky turned red over the planet Vakar, where Lord Tirax ruled his empire of shadows. His fortress, a black tower of steel and bone, rose above the clouds, guarded by machines and monsters. Inside its halls, laughter echoed, cruel, proud, untouchable. But tonight, the sky had changed, and Tirax would learn what it meant to fear. Jackson stood inside a stolen dropship, armor half broken, hands wrapped tight around a plasma rifle. Beside him, Ilari was quiet, focused. Her hair flowed like silver fire. A glowing mark burned on her neck, proof that her full power had awakened. She wasn't just royalty anymore, she was something more. "You don't have to come," Ilari said, softly, her voice shaking slightly. Jackson looked at her, then at the stars outside. "I didn't fight through fire and sewers to stop now." He paused. "Besides, someone has to make sure you don't fry the whole place." She smiled. "I'll try to leave a wall or two." The ship rattled. They were close. The battle had already begun. Rebel ships roared across the sky. Red fire lit up the heavens as cannons fired from both sides. The fortress shields glowed and cracked. Jackson and Ilari jumped before the ship crashed, straight, into chaos. Aliens fired from towers. Machines rolled forward. Drones flew like wasps. Jackson charged. He fought like the soldier he used to be, dirty, smart, fast. Every bullet counted. Every move saved a life. Ilari moved like a storm. She raised her hands. The air bent. Light exploded. She didn't burn her enemies. She erased them. Inside the fortress, Lord Tirax watched the battle from a tall balcony. His skin was hard as black, stone, and his red cape dragged behind him like blood. "She came," he said, smiling, "just like her father, brave, and foolish. A bodyguard asked, "Shall I prepare your escape, my lord?" Tyrax turned slowly. Escape? From a girl and her pet human? He lifted a sword that pulsed with red energy. No, I will feed on them. The final doors opened with a crash. Ilari and Jackson stepped into the throne room. Tyrax sat on his dark chair surrounded by fire and skulls. "So," he growled, "the royal meat returns." Ilari walked forward, eyes glowing. "This ends now." Tyrax laughed. "You think I fear you? I made you. I sold you. Your blood made me rich." Jackson raised his weapon. "Not anymore." Tyrax charged like a beast. The ground shook. Jackson opened fire, but the bullets bounced off his armor. Ilari stepped forward, arms glowing with silver light. Tyrax swung his blade. She caught it, with her bare hands, and it shattered. The entire fortress trembled. "I'm not your product," she said. "I'm your end." A pulse of pure light blasted from her body, throwing Tyrax across the room. He crashed into his throne, roaring in pain. Jackson ran to her side. "Finish it," he said. But Ilari hesitated. "No," she said. "I won't become what he was." She stepped forward and touched Tyrax's chest. Her energy surged, not to destroy but to erase his power. His eyes went wide as his strength drained from his body. "Mercy?" he spat. "No," she said. "Justice." Tyrax fell. The red light in the sky faded. The war was over. Hours later, the rebels danced in the ruined halls of the fortress. Cages were broken. Slaves were freed. Ships flew banners of peace. Jackson stood by the balcony looking at the stars. Ilari joined him. "You kept your promise," she said. He smiled. "So did you." She reached out and took his hand. Warm, strong, real. As the stars twinkled over a free world, Ilari leaned closer and whispered, "Next time, let's skip the steakhouse." Jackson laughed. "Deal."